Hi and welcome to Indigo Starfire. My name is Bevin, and in this video I'm going to be looking into the question, then versus now. How have their feelings about you and the connection evolved or changed? There are three groups to choose from. Group 1 is the clear quartz. Group 2 is the black quartz. And group 3 is the smoky quartz. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to, I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you'd like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. Chose the clear quartz. So let's start by taking a look at the energies of then. How did this person previously feel about you? How did they feel at the start of the connection? Or if this is a no contact situation, how were they feeling when you last were dealing with them, when you last interacted with them? Okay, we have nirvana, liberation, relaxation, peaceful pursuits, happy times, and past life guides, karmic lessons, present assistance. So there's a sense that this person viewed you as a very easygoing, down-to-earth individual, somebody that they felt very free to be themselves with. You brought forth a level of vulnerability from this person that it feels like was both refreshing and almost like transcendent from other interpersonal relationships that they've experienced, other romances that they've experienced, but it feels like something that also held a degree of triggering because there might have been a sense of like that they weren't worthy of that somehow. They weren't worthy of like the level of acceptance that you were giving them. Fear as far as maybe ways in which they had let down their guard, taken their mask off and sort of exposed truths about themselves or a quality about themselves, a way in which they had conveyed emotions or love or even allowed themselves to receive that from you in kind, that almost might have brought up a lot of shadow elements within themselves, a bit of almost triggering some kind of nerve ending within them as far as like a tendency towards self-sabotage. So this might have caused this person to either retract their energy, kind of cool off in their interactions with you, or if you're in a no contact situation, that definitely could have been a motivator for them to run or distance themselves. Almost a feeling of like, it's very tranquil to be with you. I feel very centered, very stable within myself, but I don't feel worthy of that. So this may be somebody that is kind of off on a quest at this particular point in time to try and decipher almost like why they would run from something that feels so right and so good. Why would they move back in the direction of, even just like self-perpetuated misery or sitting with a sense of like not feeling good enough for what you had to offer? Why would that be the best option as opposed to kind of leaning in deeper and participating with you equitably and allowing themselves to be kind of filled and nourished by the elements of the connection. A little bit of almost maybe feeling that you were too good to be true, or that the peace couldn't last within the situation, or a sense of almost, again, like an unworthiness kind of wound that it feels like you may have catalyzed this person onto some kind of new layer of their own spiritual journey at this particular point in time that they may be embarked upon if you're at a distance from one another, or if it's somebody you're still in contact with. It feels like earlier on in the connection, or sort of like, prior maybe to a shift that has happened within them recently that you've sort of sensed or you're able to decipher. There was almost a feeling of, this feels right. It feels good. It feels like everything that I've been looking for, but I'm not sure if I'm the person that is like capable of sustaining that in a long-term sense. Or it might have almost activated something within them where there was a fear of like, what if I were to let you down? What if I let you in further and you don't like what you see, and then I'm rejected? So something that it feels like they're definitely chewing upon that at this particular point in time. What is the motivation for them changing up the pace in the situation, and whatever kind of subtle or direct action that they've taken? So let's take a look at the energies of now. How have their thoughts and feelings about you and the connection evolved or changed? Okay, so we have the Star Daughters dance. I dance, sing, and play with my sisters at sunset. The Cosmos ascend. I connect to oneness and expand my awareness. Shu, order and peace. And Seth, resentment. So there's a sense that this person is really frustrated with themselves by kind of an impulse or a reflex that almost might have been triggered within them to pull their energy back or run from you in the situation. With this energy of Seth and resentment, there's almost kind of the sense of, I want to make up for what has happened or what I've done, or almost like the dissonance that has now been inserted within this situation. Trust, which may have been fractured, or a sense of like uncertainty within your part. Almost the idea of something that is quivered within this person's energy. They've either directed a current of fear then towards you, that if you're currently dealing with them, may have caused you to almost reflexively put your guard up as well, kind of not certain as to why things would have changed up so abruptly, or even in kind of a subtle way that just was different from how things were progressing. Or if this is someone that has run from you altogether, there's a sense of frustration within themselves because now they're seeing that it's going to be more difficult to try and get access to you. Your patience might have been wearing thin with them, or this might have even been something if you were in like a back and forth, like an ongoing runner chaser situation. There's almost the sense of steps that they had taken towards you, or the idea of moving towards you, they've now been set back on a course substantially in that regard. So it feels like it's a lot of self-directed frustration with that. And also kind of this aspect too, ways in which you may have just kind of gone with the flow of this. You may have just kind of gracefully moved into your own kind of self-protective stance, or if they're giving kind of like weird vibes to you, you might have pulled back your energy as well, that it feels like it's also adding into a level of kind of discontentment on their part. Why did I react the way that I reacted? Why did I flinch instead of leaning in deeper to this situation? If it's a sense where they've run altogether from the situation and you're like in no contact with one another, there may be a sense of envying other people that have a place in your life, being jealous of the idea of somebody else coming in and taking what they are seeing maybe as their place by your side, because they were fearful of the nature of the intensity and depth of their emotions. So it's a lot of like self-blame at this particular point in time. There's a sense that in some way you've changed and you've grown and you've evolved to where the approach that they had last taken before some kind of dissonance or upset has happened, that's not going to work this time. And so there's almost a sense that like time is running out, or now the challenge has become even greater to kind of win your heart back, win your trust back, or to even kind of coax themselves beyond that place of something triggered within that might have kind of looped them into a pattern of self-sabotage. Now they're sitting with kind of that sense of unworthiness within, and you still represent almost this higher level of love than they have known before. There's an urge to move back in your direction, to provide explanation, to participate with you in an equitable manner. But there's also, again, like frustration, especially if they've been catalyzed onto some kind of introspective journey, dark night of the soul, spiritual awakening, that it's very frustrating kind of what they're needing to confront within themselves in order to access a place of higher vibration and almost like courage within to move forth towards you with openness of heart and a willingness to be consistent, no matter how kind of like scary it might get for them, because there's a sense of you're not waiting around for this person. You have a lot of value, you know your own value and you know your own worth, to where there's almost a sense of them understanding you're not just going to wait forever for them to figure it out. You're not just going to kind of allow this person to occupy a space of like a placeholder in your reality, emotional or otherwise, that you respect yourself enough to not chase them. You've given up chase. If you've been in like a runner-chaser dynamic with this person over time, it feels like the most recent instance of them maybe coming back around, or even energetically speaking, kind of dipping into your energy, sort of testing the waters, and anything that might have caused them to reflexively pull back, you've not given the same response that you have in the past, and it feels like it's very frustrating for them, because it's almost the sense of that they've created some kind of chaos within the situation, rather than kind of the righting of wrongs that they might have planned for when sort of reaching out or attempting to come back in. They've only further complicated matters for themselves, and there's a sense of like, you won't tolerate nonsense. You won't tolerate disruption to your peace, to your harmony, to the life you've created for themselves. And so there's almost a sense of fear, it feels like, that now they may be sort of trapped on the outside of your life looking in because of whatever has happened recently. If it's somebody that you're currently in a connection with that has kind of like retracted within themselves, sort of reflectively flinched back at kind of even the harmony between the two of you, there's a fear of almost like not wanting to move into that space where, you're deliberately shutting them out. There's almost a sense of this person understanding that they need to move delicately during their next kind of effort to approach or to warm up or to kind of be more assertive with their energy towards you, because they are again sensing that you're somebody, you know your worth, you know your value. You're not just going to let somebody play with your heart and play with your emotions. That you are well aware of kind of what you bring to the table emotionally speaking, and it feels that this person has a lot of respect for that. They have a lot of respect for like this version of yourself that you have built out of maybe a series of heartbreaks or things that have happened in your life, that you're somebody that needs to be approached, needs to be sort of dealt with, needs to be interacted with on a higher level of integrity than a lower vibe connection might sort of ask of them. That might have been something that was also kind of triggering with this individual in the past, and even kind of presently is sort of determining more of a measured pace as far as a strategy towards you, is you almost know your worth and value more than other people they've ever interacted with. You're not giving chase to this individual, unlike other people they are used to dealing with. It's almost like your sheer presence just sort of elicits the necessity to bring something more to the table than they're used to dealing with as far as like people emotionally or people in their life. So this is something where they almost see a relationship with you, or taking steps to, kind of repair or to smooth out any turbulence that may have occurred, that there's almost the sense of like, this can be an excellent opportunity, not just to experience a higher level of romance than they've known before, but it also is like a growth opportunity for themselves as well, to really kind of like mend and heal some sort of wound or trigger that has been activated within themselves, and that they almost feel like to continue to participate with you or to do what's necessary to kind of, fight for this situation, it makes them a better person. It brings that quality out of them because you're vibrating at such a high frequency and holding yourself to such a high standard and not tolerating any less than that, that there's almost no option in this situation except for this individual to kind of grow and ascend, and bring forth more of like a healed and steady vibration. That there's no place in the situation for fear, for uncertainty, which feels like something that they're seeing as, regardless of what the outcome is, it's definitely been like food for thought for them, and holding up kind of a mirror or introducing them to some aspect of themselves that has stood in the way of blessings or abundance, maybe in their life in general or in relationships in general, to where they're seeing that there's incentive almost to try and work through this and move towards you. But at the end of the day, they kind of they come out with the opportunity to kind of improve themselves somewhat, because they're now kind of face to face with some sort of wound that they might not have understood was so pervasive within, or might not have even known really existed within themselves prior to whatever may have caused some sort of disruption, or either like full running away, or even kind of just pulling back into themselves energetically. So we get some messages from this person's higher self, and then I'll close the reading out with some initials. Okay, and they say, I am electrified by you. So that definitely confirms the fact that you've made a profound impact upon this person. It may have shocked them just how easy it was to open up to you, just how much they felt seen and safe to be vulnerable and authentic, and that might have definitely been kind of what zapped into that wound within themselves, kind of the feeling of not being good enough, or a tendency towards self-sabotage. So this is definitely somebody, it feels like on some level you've awakened something within them. You may have activated their heart chakra, or kind of propelled them onto some kind of deeper layer of their own spiritual journey, or maybe even their spiritual journey for the first time. So despite any kind of silence or kind of disconnect between you and this individual, it's almost the sense of they're still very much affected by you. They're still very much feeling you energetically. They're kind of looking within themselves to sort of find a way to cauterize certain wounds in order to be able to kind of match your frequency in more of a steady and consistent manner. They also say, I'm battling my demons right now. So there's that confirmation of somebody who's confronting a trigger, a wound within themselves, that there's a sense of, until I get a handle on this, until I understand this, until I find a way to make this manageable within myself, or kind of wrestle this part of me into submission that has now been awakened from a place of dormancy. There's almost the sense of they can't move back towards you, or they won't allow themselves to move back towards you at this time, because there's a sense of like, if they bring any more ambient chaos into the situation, maybe then it's already been sort of a rumbling, like an undercurrent, or if they've outright run from you, there's a sense of your valuing of yourself is enough that you'll close the door on them and there won't be any other opportunity. So they're really prioritizing kind of getting it right, this next move towards you, whatever that might be, whatever happens on the other side of this process that they're going through. There's almost a sense of, I want more in this situation, but I know that I need to bring a cleaner vibration to you than has been the case in the past. And they also say, you're the only person in the world who really scares me. So again, somebody who may be very fearful of vulnerability, or the level of vulnerability that they have either expressed to you. This could have been somebody who caught feelings very quickly, feelings that were very intense, very confusing, deep feelings, triggering, activating spiritual awakening, kind of essence and energy. That too could have freaked them out and caused them to sort of run or disconnect, or sort of pull back within themselves. But there's an allure, there's a draw towards you. There's almost a sense of, I am going through these profound changes within, or I feel this motivation and need to kind of do some cleanup work within my own shadow in order to be able to come forth to you with more of like a nourishing vibration, as opposed to something that is depleting, or that will interfere or undermine kind of the foundation that you're laying with one another, the foundation that you've had in the past that needs to be rebuilt, and ultimately somebody who doesn't really want to bring more chaos into your life than they may have already done. And they also say you're my destiny. So they definitely feel a lot of incentive and motivation to do what they can in order to expediently sort of deal with this wound, deal with this trigger, and give it another go as far as approaching you, opening up, warming up to the situation, taking those steps forward that they were guided to take at one point in time until they kind of tripped over their own shadow and needed to sort of fall back and deal with whatever it is that has surfaced within them. So this is almost the sense that even if you're in no contact, this may be somebody who is still very much motivated and planning to reach out, to take steps towards you, or if it's somebody that you're dealing with currently, there's a sense of if they've kind of retreated or retracted their energy within, they're seeing that as merely temporary. They're very motivated to try and get a handle on or quell whatever has been kind of irritated or awakened within them in order to be able to come back towards you more confidently or continue moving forth in the connection in a consistent manner. So these initials can be a first, middle, or last name, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got Z, T, Y, N, P, G, E, L, X, K, M, Y, F, U, and A. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. You chose the black quartz. So let's start with the energies of then. How was this person that you were watching the video for feeling about you when you were last dealing with them? If this is a no contact situation or in kind of the earlier phases of your connection, if this is somebody that you're currently interacting with. Okay, we have authentic expression, rebirth, journey guide, travel, change in location, and Archangel Raguel, justice, harmony, solutions. So there's a sense that this person, kind of earlier on in your connection, or somebody you might be in a no contact situation with when you were last dealing with them, they looked at you as some kind of heaven-sent blessing. You are the type of person that they have prayed for, that they have been looking for. This may have been somebody who had kind of given up on love or was becoming very frustrated with the idea of finding kind of that ideal match or mate. They may have resigned themselves to the idea of, I guess I'll just have to go through my journey in life alone. Somebody who may have closed themselves off from the idea of ever really connecting with anyone on like a deep soul level. This could be somebody that was just sort of used to surface level connections or hadn't really found anyone that they could kind of click with on a deeper level, on aspects that were really meaningful beyond the surface. So it feels like with you, it was kind of like a breath of fresh air. It feels that you opened this person's mind or their perspective in terms of your love language or the way in which you express affection, express emotion, or even just embody authenticity within yourself. yourself. You're very different, or they, thought kind of earlier on that you're very different from anyone that they had ever sort of met before. So there's an element of almost being that they were drawn towards you like a moth to a flame, very curious about you, curious to learn about you as a person, to sort of see the way in which you move through the world, or that you view the world. There's a sense that you really open this person's heart and mind to a different way of love, or a different way to embody that frequency of love and live that truth. Something as well as far as a way in which you invited a layer of this person out from hiding, qualities within themselves that had never really found a home, never really found acceptance. There's a sense that they felt earlier on you might be a person that would be a safe haven for these things. There's almost the idea that this could even have been like a love at first sight situation, feeling that this person might have found their forever home, that really sort of drew them toward the idea of like longer term plans between the two of you, something that may have really caused them to want to rush very quickly in terms of allowing themselves to own those feelings, which might have come up very suddenly and very intensely. A sense of a lot of fantasizing about what the future between the two of you could hold. A sense that also you may have rerouted this person's kind of directional plan for life. If they had sort of resigned themselves to moving through kind of life on their own, or having a certain component of themselves sort of tucked away, never really finding acceptance for that before, never really finding love or anyone that could kind of relate to that part of them before. There's almost a sense of when they met you, or when they first started interacting with you, there was a feeling of, I can be more freely myself, or there's parts of me that were never kind of introduced to the frequency of love, were never accepted, were never respected, were never even known about, things they might not have even expressed or conveyed to other people before. That there was almost like an urge to share themselves, to share their life, to make space and room in their life for this connection and for you. So if this is somebody that you're in a no contact situation with, whatever the reason for kind of moving into a space of separation, it feels that it might have been something where they could have almost become very overwhelmed, again, by the nature of like far-reaching future plans, feelings that came on very quickly, that might have almost caused them like their mind to kind of get involved in the situation and put the brakes on, because their heart was getting like carried away with itself. Somebody who may have felt really inclined to kind of rush things in the situation, and it almost feels to be something that, as much as it may have like led to hurt feelings on your part, as far as if there's like no contact in the situation, it might have almost been something where their practical nature sort of took over and led them off in another direction in order to really evaluate kind of what they could practically offer, or what sort of needs or needed to happen in kind of a linear and material sense in order to kind of bring some sort of dream of a long-term plan with you into fruition in a material sense, to not just kind of like leap forward just based on feelings alone, but an understanding of like there needs to be a plan of action. There needs to be time spent with one another in kind of all of our seasons before it can be said definitively that yes, this is the one, or this is the place where my heart belongs, and vice versa, for you to have that opportunity to really sort of vet this person out and say, is this the type of individual I really would want to link my life up with in a long-term capacity. It might have even been, though, that based on that knowing, it could have been kind of sloppy the way in which they created some sort of distance or space between the two of you, which may be something that they're having to deal with now. Kind of the cleanup work from that could have been very educational to them, as far as ways in which they may have been sort of stunted as far as conveying their emotions. In kind of a reasonable manner, or in a way that provided understanding, as opposed to just sort of leaving doubts. Like if this is someone that just sort of like ghosted or very abruptly sort of ran from you, it's almost paradoxical. It feels that kind of the motivating factor for that was something where it's almost like, I see you in my long-term future, but I need to do some things in my immediate life in order to kind of make that the proper space for that love to blossom. So it feels like they've almost compounded sort of the to-do list that they now have for themselves, both internally and externally, in order to kind of set the stage for some sort of rebirth or reemergence. Or if it's somebody that you're dealing with currently, they may be in the process of almost trying to sort of like hold on or maintain the situation between the two of you in some way, but are kind of teetering on this edge of kind of like needing some space to themselves to kind of figure things out, or weigh it from more of a logical perspective, what it is that they're feeling, or almost a sense of like there needs to be a cool off period between the two of you, because their emotions were running very hot. Their emotions were kind of leading them into these long-term plans, which maybe this is somebody who's rushed forth, kind of led with the heart in the past, and it's not ended well because they didn't take the time to really sort of lay that proper foundation with another person. So it almost feels to be something where they may at this particular point in time be trying to like put the brakes on the situation in order to just kind of give the gift of time to this circumstance, allow sort of, you know, material experiences with one another, even time in each of sort of your own energies to sort of think things over and figure out like, what do you want? What can you really kind of give to one another? What needs to be sort of done or moved out of the way in order to create space for the situation? So let's take a look at how their feelings and thoughts towards you in the situation have evolved. Okay, we have the ancient grandmother, teacher. I am the teacher that leads with self-knowledge. The lost star, rebirth, out of the darkness into the light. Isis, faith and wisdom. And Anuket, hope. So there's definitely an incentive and a motivation on this person's part to trudge through whatever kind of need that they have to sort of put the brakes on in the situation, to create almost an experience of duration between the two of you. So this kind of applies if it's sort of a newer connection, that any ways in which they may be holding back, or you may sense that they're kind of slowing down the pace at which the two of you were building with one another, the chemistry, the intensity, the nature of what was sort of shared or exchanged between the two of you. It feels that this is, again, very conscious on their part, because they're wanting to preserve sort of long-term future in this situation. Kind of with this double energy of almost like the star that we have here with the lost star, and then also that energy of hope in the Anuket card. There's this essence here of trying to dismantle things within their life, blocks and barriers within themselves, emotionally speaking, in order to kind of like realign the stars in the favor of this situation. Wanting to kind of take a measured pace at this particular point in time, because it's worth fighting for. It's worth doing what they can, what they must, and kind of the unthinkable in certain cases, in order to really free up within themselves a greater capacity to give space for this connection to flourish. This may also be something where, again, they're kind of like charting a course forward, ways in which things might need to be sort of shifted around within their life, within their existence. This may be somebody who, in the distance that they've kind of created, even emotionally, if they've just sort of gone into their mind, maybe they're overthinking at this particular point in time, and they're not really showing up in kind of a vibrant emotional capacity for you. There's a lot of loneliness in that regard. They miss the kind of dynamic aspect of your connection with one another. They feel very nourished by you in the situation. They continue to fall more deeply in love with you as every day passes or time goes on. And there's a sense of like, I want to get through this process of tearing certain things down and rebuilding in a better direction within myself, in order for us to be able to build a different sort of foundation than I've known in love in the past. There's a sense of them really looking to you as kind of like an example. You're leading by example example in some sort of way, either in terms of how you're expressing patience or understanding, even if it's unspoken, where you've sort of adjusted the tempo of how you're interacting with this person. There's a sense of them really seeing that you're almost like your kindred spirits. You're like a high level soulmate. You're the one. You're that person that just sort of fits in with them, with who they are on all sorts of layers. Watching you move through your world and through reality, and in this dance between the two of you, it's educating them about qualities within themselves as well. Things that might need to either be tempered or enhanced within them, to kind of fill in all the spaces that are possible within this situation, all of the kind of unknowns and the variables. There's the sense of almost life feels less daunting with the idea of you by my side. And so they're doing, it feels like what they can or what they must, sort of internally, quietly behind the scenes, in order to prepare themselves for sort of the next evolution in this situation. They're kind of leaning in, it feels like, to advice from, maybe they're praying about this, spirit guides, ancestors, signs and synchronicities that they're getting. They may be talking to people in their life about sort of like, what do I do in this situation? I'm falling head over heels for this person. I think I found the one. This is important to me. Kind of maybe people in their life that have known them long term, that have seen sort of the wreckage of their emotional past, and getting guidance and advice about sort of like, what do I do in order to not replicate the same experiences that I've had in the past that have led to heartbreak, or led to a situation that wasn't built on a stable foundation and then couldn't survive the storms of life. So there's a lot of importance that they are giving to not just their next move towards you, but something in the long-term capacity of like every step they take towards you, it brings with it almost a far-reaching implication. It's not just being in the now with you, but it's almost the sense of like them wanting to invest very presently in a situation in order to give that broad range potential, the most kind of broad ability to sort of grow and thrive and survive. If this is somebody that you're at a distance with, and in a no contact situation altogether, it feels that they're doing a lot of soul searching. They're doing a lot of reflection within. They're very lonely for you. They miss that closeness between the two of you. It's a sense of whatever had kind of undermined the connection before. They understand that to reemerge in your life, or to try and kind of present themselves, it's got to come from a different approach. They've got to do some work internally speaking, or again, like make necessary changes within their life, within their circumstances, in order to be able to have something more to give. Whether it's a person at a distance or a current person that you're dealing with, there's a sense of them valuing and cherishing what they have with you enough to really, at this point in time, sort of be very proactive at looking at like the patterns or the limits within themselves, emotionally speaking. Somebody who may be like taking inventory of past romantic connections and what the past with you has been, but it feels like their roster basically of all the heartbreaks that they've had, people whose hearts they've broken, people who have broken their heart, to really sift through it with a fine-tooth comb and say, what didn't work? What could I have done better? What did I overlook or move too impulsively with? Where did I not have healthy boundaries? Where did I not communicate enough? Where, did I not respect the other person's needs? In order to try and formulate a well-rounded, almost dossier of sort of like, these are my strengths and these are my deficits as far as romance is concerned, so that as they participate more with you or seek to kind of revive the situation between the two of you, it comes with a level of self-awareness that actually equips the situation between the two of you to kind of leave very little to chance. Yes, there's the, propensity toward triggers or, things that can kind of go awry in all situations, no matter how much somebody tries to strategize and kind of plan it out. But there's a sense of almost a desire to invest in a long-term future between the two of you by taking the time to kind of invest in sort of looking within. What is the nature of these wounds that I hold? How have I wounded other people? What can I do in order to not sort of replicate and repeat those patterns in this situation, because they see you as somebody of high value, somebody that they want in their future. It almost feels like they're doing some kind of internal work that they've never done before. They've never had the incentive or the motivation to kind of go this far within themselves, or even open some uncomfortable chapters of their past and try to look at it from that logical lens, rather than sitting in an emotional space to look at it from a very practical standpoint, to own their part in the situations, and then to also kind of be mindful of sort of where were the indicators of things were starting to go awry, things were starting to fall apart, that would have been the opportunity to work to course correct that, or that should have been things that were kind of indicators of sort of an inherent imbalance in the first place, bringing all of that self-knowledge, it feels like, forth into whatever their next sort of move is towards you. So I'm going to get some message cards from their higher self, and then I will close the reading out with some initials. Okay, and they say, I have no words for your kindness and generosity. So any ways in which you have just kind of silently gone with the flow of this, not being a doormat, but just sort of adjusting your vibration according to this person, or your approach according to this person. Just sort of allowing them that time and space to internalize whatever it is that they're internalizing, to go through this process of sort of figuring out, what can I bring to the table? What do I want out of this situation? What is a way in which to move forth into the future in this circumstance that guarantees that there will not be a repeat of the mistakes of the past, because I'm moving differently than I have in the past. So any ways in which you've kind of allowed them for their personal process within themselves to kind of muster up the courage to open up more emotionally, or again, sort of continue to take steps forward in like a new direction in the situation. They have a lot of gratitude for that. It feels like you've expressed to them or have shown to them something that borders on unconditional love, in the sense that they feel very seen and accepted for who they are, and very much like you fit with one another. You feel like home in a way that they have not experienced with other people. And so there's a sense that they can almost get comfortable enough to deal with some uncomfortable things within themselves, for the benefit of whatever can be achieved or accomplished or experienced in kind of more of the longer range potential in this situation. They also say, I feel you so strongly, I can taste your essence. So they have a lot of passion for you, very intense feelings, a lot of chemistry between the two of you that's very palpable. There's a sense here of almost feeling their soul merging with yours when they interact with you, when they tap into your energy. You are physically with one another, or, even just kind of they're in that emotional space within their heart, which it feels like is of such value and meaning to them that they're almost trying to preserve and protect what that can develop into in like a long-term sense, to not allow it to like dissipate or burn out too quickly. And so they've retreated into almost like this intellectual or mental space, into a practical space. How do we lay a foundation with one another that can house all of that passion, can house all of that intensity and that palpable energy between the two of us, so that we can both rise into love, as opposed to having it be something which is a very intense and maybe short-lived experience, and then we're left picking up the pieces. And they also say, everything you've ever said to me, I've taken to heart. So they really value sort of your contribution to their life in general, the ways in which you change their perspective about the meaning of love, the nature of love, what it is to hold space for another person, what it is to kind of receive wholly the nature of another person as well. There's a transcendent energy with this where they almost feel more like themselves than they ever have, by being in your presence, ways in which you sparked and made them curious about things within themselves. Maybe you've even sort of discussed or conveyed things about your own personal journey that has motivated this person to almost take that intellectual approach. What do I need to look at within myself and sort of decipher or understand, so that I'm not just bringing in a bunch of like wounds into the situation. I'm at least aware of kind of both my strengths and my deficits in a more direct or pronounced manner, so that we're not repeating the mistakes that I've made in my personal past, so that this connection has kind of the most optimum ability to grow into something lasting and true. And they also say, thank you for your beautiful presence in my life. So they're very much drawn towards you, very enamored with you. They feel very fulfilled with you as a person. Emotionally, you check off all the boxes as far as what they are looking for in that long-term partner. You've helped this person to believe and love again. You've awakened something within their heart, and it feels like they, even if they're at a distance from you and it's no contact, or it's someone that you're currently dealing with, there is motivation to kind of do something starting from the inside in order to be able to build a better foundation between the two of you, whether that involves reconciliation or just kind of whatever the next step would be in the situation. It's almost like working on themselves in order to work more cohesively with you, and the energies exchange between the two of you. So these initials can be a first, middle, or last name, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got T, E, R, M, A, C, H, U, I, S, I, U, T, B, E, and R. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose the smoky quartz. So let's start with the energies of then. How is the person on your mind feeling about you when they last interacted with you, or earlier on in your connection, or if you're in a no contact situation, how are they feeling when you were last in contact with one another? Okay, we have ecstasy, direction, talent guides, spirit mentors and teachers, and sensitivity and strength, tapping the forces within. So it feels like this person may have been very intimidated by you, something about your energy, something about your confidence, the way in which you carry yourself, the way in which you speak, kind of the way in which you view the world or view yourself. Maybe you're a very driven and motivated person who is kind of, focused on your purpose, focused on, your healing, your personal growth, anything that is kind of meaningful to you and matters matters sort of beyond the realm of love that you've expressed to this person, or that you're focused on and kind of filling your time with, or goals and long-term plans that you're trying to sort of bring into reality. There's a sense of almost that they've never met anyone so focused as you. And it feels to be something that it was very inspirational to them. You may have really helped to kind of motivate this person to resurrect certain dreams within themselves, for a different kind of life than they have had, or, something that they had wanted to kind of bring about or create as far as personal change or change in their life, that they may have never really had anyone that would understand that sort of a dream, didn't really have a support system for it, or just life got in the way and they never were able to sort of accomplish that or do that. There's a sense of almost that with you, there was almost being in your presence really lit them up inside, to where they may have felt that they had a lot of energy and motivation, or the nature of what you spoke about with one another, even if it was just very mundane kind of things. There's a sense of this person, they were feeling very rejuvenated after spending time in your presence, where they were able to then apply that energy to other areas of their life that they had neglected, or other areas of their life that could use that sort of boost. There's a sense here as well that the words that you speak, something about like the tone of your voice even, or, like the frequency of your voice, that it almost like sent shivers through this person in a very positive way. They may have heard you with their heart, or heard you with their soul. Beyond the words that you were speaking, something in that vibration connected with them on a deep personal level, to where there's almost a sense of they were feeling very guided in your direction, almost that like synchronicity or serendipity is what aligned the two of you, sensing that there was almost like a past life connection between the two of you, something that may have even sort of fundamentally changed the ways in which they looked at even the nature of like interpersonal relationships, or maybe odd or unique circumstances by which you first met one another, or a lot of signs and synchronicities that could have started popping up while you're dealing with one another, that caused them to really start to question, who am I, how am I living my life, is anything really arbitrary? Things which also it feels like there may have been sort of elements where they almost felt that you were more evolved in certain ways, or you had a different sort of understanding of yourself, a different base of knowledge about things, or spiritual knowledge, to where it's almost that spiritually their life would be enhanced by interacting with you. The nature of what you sort of presented or informed this person about, it may have really sparked the need for them to start to research, to learn about different things. You may have really shifted this person's perspective about a lot. This also may be something where kind of earlier on, or in the initial stages of the connection, or even something that could have triggered them and caused them to run in the opposite direction, may have been sort of like a rift or a friction between like your ideas, your spiritual beliefs. There could have been religious factors, ways in which you viewed the world, almost like a yin-yang sort of dynamic that could have really touched upon almost elements that were very deeply rooted within them, where even if they considered themselves like an open-minded person, they could have felt very triggered by certain things that were your lived reality, your lived truth, that it feels like it's almost, the triggering may have really humbled them and kind of pointed them in the direction of a need to sort of learn before passing judgment, or ways in which you really, again, challenge like beliefs about themselves, about the way they were living their life, how they were raised, what they've come to believe in general, maybe the nature of sort of what it is like you practicing what you preach kind of an energy may have been so different from the ways in which they've seen anyone else living a life, or ways in which that embodied truth was different from ideas that they had about such things prior to meeting you. So it feels like something where this person was very much enriched, very much enticed in your direction, but you also triggered some sort of fundamental need to like self-evaluate, or look within, or grow and evolve beyond certain like set in stone layers of reality that they had kind of built their whole identity around. This could be something as well where you almost kind of without meaning to sort of catalyze this person into like a dark night of the soul energy where everything was being called into question, just by the sheer force and factor of kind of interacting with you energetically. It may have really led them into a place of like, I don't even know who I am anymore. I don't even know who I would want to be going forward, because there's a whole new perspective which has opened up, because now I have been triggered, by almost material differences between the two of you that sort of took precedence, it feels like, in some way over some kind of like deep soul to soul connection that they feel with you, a sense of almost like getting very frustrated over kind of those material differences, those differences in beliefs, differences in how you were raised, differences in your lifestyles, just any kind of thing that would be almost like a polarity between the two of you. It's something that it almost became very frustrating that you are embodying your truth in a way that almost like, or your lived reality or your experience in a way that you were very accepting of yourself, or maybe very open about these things. It could have been so contrary to this person who could have been taught to be very closed off or secretive about certain things within themselves, or again, like fundamental or firm beliefs that they have, or ways in which they built a life around it, and yet there's a compulsion to share their heart or share their life with you, but then a struggle to sort of see how can the two of you reconcile these differences, or how can you fit into one another's world and one another's equations with such fundamental differences in terms of that polarity of beliefs or lifestyle choices, or just whatever that looks like. So let's take a look at the energies of now. How have their thoughts and feelings about you and the connection evolved or changed? We have the cosmos, ascend. I connect to oneness and expand my awareness. The moonstone star, passion. I am entering a portal of euphoric love. Selkis, healing. And Kepri, change. So there's definitely a sense of this person understanding that you and this connection and the feelings that they have inside, this deep, almost otherworldly bond that they sense between the two of you, it's worth fighting for. It's worth dismantling kind of some linear idea as far as the nature of who would make that perfect partner that would fit very precisely into certain bracketed realities for themselves. There's a sense of already, just in trying to even maybe learn about the things that are important to you, learn more about how your lifestyle or kind of things that you've shared with them in a certain way, ways in which you sort of reach that point of contention with one another, something that was like triggered within them. It's a sense of they've not just been triggered and run off in an opposite direction, or if you're still dealing with this person, it's almost like they're not just triggered deeply within and kind of looking for reasons why the situation won't work or can't work. It's almost like you've triggered this person into voluntarily kind of participating in sort of peeling back the layers of their own conditioning to say, where have I been too closed off, and how is this an opportunity to kind of expand and grow beyond my comfort zone? So it's the sense of almost kind of like a refreshing perspective that you've brought to them has brought a lot of healing. Maybe this is things that you've expressed, or again, like your personal embodied truth, that as they've sort of thought about this, as they've explored it, as they've researched it, whatever that is, even if it's just looking deeply within and introspecting, they're finding a lot of wisdom with that. They're finding a lot of deep truth with that. They're finding a lot that kind of matches up with, or is kind of a a reimagining or another way of sort of describing things that are important to them. Like if it's one person's spiritual, the other person's religious, there's almost this element of kind of like they're seeing how these threads of ideas and beliefs and practices can in fact intersect, or that there are similarities between the two that at face value one wouldn't have thought were there. So it's almost kind of something where you broaden this person's perspective about life, about the nature of reality. There's a sense here too that anything you've shared as far as your backstory, your experiences in life and in love that may have really triggered something within this person about perhaps shared or similar experiences or other components of like wounds or traumas within themselves that they hadn't really looked at. Maybe they'd taken a very critical eye and you're taking more of a compassionate stance towards yourself that could have been very triggering from sort of the basis of what they'd come to believe was sort of the relationship within themselves to certain experiences in their life. There's a sense of almost you've provided healing through that shift in perspective. You've helped to alleviate some weightedness within kind of their emotions, within their heart space, within their relationship with themselves, simply by the ways in which you accept yourself thoroughly. You bring forth a level of honesty or rigorousness to kind of deal with your own shortcomings in a way that is very refreshing or very unusual from anyone they've ever known before. So it's a sense of almost like seeing you as some kind of like a guide or a teacher for them. Just even being in your sheer presence, kind of the nature of exchange between the two of you, there's a sense that this person wants more. They want to do what is necessary to break down those walls and that resistance within themselves. This might even be something where they're starting to understand, or they've come to that place of anything that's been triggered, or where they're focusing on kind of surface level details that are incongruent or that they perceive might be difficult to sort of fit very precisely with one another, that are kind of like opposite polarities from one another. There's a sense of almost them understanding that there's something very fearful within them because the situation feels so right between the two of you, that they're almost like looking for excuses on the outside as a way to kind of deflect the fact that there is this intense draw and pull towards you on a level that defies logic. It's unexplainable. It's like higher level love, and so it feels like they're kind of reaching a point, or they've reached a point of breakthrough within themselves, that it would be wasteful or foolish to kind of allow material or mundane or like practical differences between the two of you to thwart the ability to explore and to experience just how much participating with, surrendering to, going with the flow of this kind of potency between the two of you that is beyond the material, what that could do to kind of heal and to enhance and to make both of your lives more beautiful. So there's a sense that this person, if they're at a distance from you, they may be kind of getting ready to sort of put their pride and ego aside and reach out with some sort of an apology, efforts to kind of start again or begin again, that it feels like maybe accompanied with sort of evidence and about ways in which they've grown and evolved beyond more of a rigid or ego-based stance that they were operating in previously. If it's someone you're currently dealing with, again, they're sort of like wrestling with their ego at present, in order to kind of relax some sort of urge to be very almost self-protective or very kind of clingy to sort of the worldview or the way they've been moving through the world that has now in some way been challenged by this energy, by this connection. This is somebody who's wanting to evolve and grow as a person in order to keep pace with sort of you in this situation, to experience sort of what can happen next between the two of you. So I'm going to get some message cards, and then I'll get some initials to close out the reading. And they say, I worship your perfection. So again, there's a sense of them wanting to almost move in closer, move in deeper to this situation. There's a lot of respect and admiration that they have for you, for just who you are as an individual. Even if they're kind of triggered, if the ego is sort of feeling very self-protective over elements and aspects of who you are that are a direct contradiction to certain inherent truths around which this person has built their core personality or built their life in general. There's a sense of starting to really understand how those things don't really matter in the face of something that kind of goes beyond the material, which is the way in which they consciously perceive the nature of the dynamic between the two of you. It's rare, it's unusual, there's something divine about it. It's something that kind of pulls them beyond whatever their perception is of the divine or blessings in their life, or kind of their nature of the reality of their relationship with the subtle realms. It could be somebody that was not a spiritual person prior to meeting you. They may have been very logical, very analytical, very like evidentiarily based individual, and you've kind of opened them up to elements of faith, elements of the unknown, elements of kind of leaning into more of that sort of subtle space within, and interacting with that in kind of the material plane as well, to where it feels like this is almost somebody who's unfolding in your presence, or by virtue of the fact that they've touched upon your life in some sort of way, and there's a lot of gratitude for that. They're transcending, it feels like, resistance and fear, and what they're finding, what they're discovering, it's bringing forth like a peace or a resonance, or filling in even kind of more of their life in a vivid way, even on top of some kind of foundation that they've laid for themselves. It's almost kind of like this is a next level. This is something that sort of enhances what are the core beliefs that have kind of been their foundation or been their rock. This is almost kind of the expansion of that in some way. They also say, I've been watching you from a distance. So observing you, kind of taking note of you, of how you live your life, your personal truth, your reality, how you're very kind of, driven toward whatever your goals are, things that are very different, maybe the nature of that, or just how you approach these things, and anyone they've known up to this point in time. So it's a sense of almost they've never dealt with someone like you. They've never interacted with someone like you. They've never experienced somebody like you in real time, and so there's an element of almost just being very entranced by kind of just watching you be yourself, but then also really kind of taking note of how you move through reality. And in this way, it's kind of informing for them ways in which they can get into more of a flow state, and kind of evolve beyond any sort of stagnancy which they have inadvertently or found themselves in, or kind of consciously created in terms of like routine in their life, or things that they've kind of surrounded themselves with, or involved themselves with, that there's almost a sense of like there's something more out there. I've been limiting myself in some capacity, in terms of the life that I'm living, or what I define as the well-lived life, and that you're showing them a different way of being, a different way of like holding your emotions or living your heart-centered truth, to where there's a lot of awe with this. They're seeing you as almost radiating in your kind of healed and divine essence, and it's really motivating this person to start to unfold into that in a more bright manner than they have done already in their life up to this point. They also say, how I wish I could hold you tonight. So there's a desire for closeness, to repair the bond between the two of you, if it's been sort of fractured by any kind of triggers that have come up. If you're still interacting and dealing with this person, there's a sense of they're not wanting to grow apart or let differences pull the two of you apart, and they're kind of doing what they can within themselves to sort of neutralize whatever triggers, or reflexive or instinctive kind of self-protectiveness has kind of come up, protectiveness over their beliefs, over their personal truth, over like who they are as a person, that they're sort of motivated even energetically to evaluate that, to evolve beyond that in some sort of manner, that there's a sense of not wanting to let this situation, let the opportunity with you slip through their fingers, and so they may be kind of like paused or just in this observer mode, but they're still growing towards you. There's still a lot of attention that is directed towards you, and it's with the desire to kind of find a way to sort of dance in tandem with you, with the energy that you're exuding, with the way in which you're living your life, how to fit that in with kind of quadrants within their own life as well. They also say, I want more with you one day. So again, this person is forward facing in this situation. They are wanting to build and grow and expand beyond a period of time where things might have kind of stalled out or just kind of come to a pause, or a period of like introspection, something where they're watching, almost you're taking the lead in the situation at this point in time in terms of just being yourself, living very authentically. You're magnetizing this person in. Any kind of disconnect or distance at this point, they're wanting to bridge that gap between the two of you in a way that kind of demonstrates or brings forth evidence that they have made effort to try and see things from your perspective, or shifts within their life that they are guided to make independently speaking, that sort of make room for and accommodate the very intricate and unique nature of the situation between the two of you to kind of flourish and thrive. So these initials can be a first, middle, or last name, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got I, R, G, E, E, H, O, Z, N, B, F, S, C, P, V, G, and A. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.